Welcome to TutorsPlus IB English with me, Dexter Haywood, an IB English tutor, workshop leader and examiner. And let's take a look at how to strengthen your IB English Paper 1. Now, most students think IB English Paper 1 is hard because of the analysis. It's not. Paper 1 feels hard because you're trying to think, interpret, organize, and write all at the same time. And if you separate the thinking from the writing in the first 10 or 15 minutes, it becomes dramatically easier. So this is how to plan your IB English Paper 1 essay in 10 minutes. A bit of an exam strategy. In this video, I'm going to show you a simple 10-minute planning routine for IB English Paper 1. Now, if you're SL, you have about an hour and 15 minutes to write one guided analysis. And if you're HL, you have 2 hours and 15 minutes to write 2 guided analyses, one on each text. Either way, those first 10 minutes are not a luxury. They are what stop your essay from turning into a technique list with no clear argument. So we're changing from how we panic in those first 10 minutes. We see the clock, we feel the pressure, and instantly the thing that comes to mind is, I don't have time to plan. Which leads into skimming the text, circling some devices, and starting to write, hoping it'll come together as we go along. But Paper 1 isn't about guessing your way forward. It's about guided textual analysis. You're expected to build a clear, structured argument under time pressure. And if you start with a plan, you're almost guaranteeing that you won't have those weak statements. You won't have random paragraphs. You won't have repetition. It's all about that plan. So instead of guessing, here's a planning routine that you can memorize and use every single time for both written and visual text at SL and HL. And we're going to break your planning into small, manageable chunks, first of all. In our first minute, you're going to read the guiding question properly, as it's a guiding textual analysis. So that guiding question is not decorative. It points you towards a central technique or formal aspect of the text. In this first minute, don't touch your pen yet. Read the guiding question slowly. Underline the keywords, the aspect, the focus, the angle. Then glance back over the text with that lens in mind. And you're not deciding everything here. You're just making sure that your whole plan will actually answer the task that IB has set. Then in minutes 1 to 3, we're looking at the central meaning and the tone. So we move into the foundation of the essay. First, the central meaning. So asking yourself, what is this text doing? What idea, the attitude or impression is it trying to build in the reader? And remember, you're not summarizing, you're identifying the writer's purpose. So we're going to have some examples of central meaning. Could be that the text satirizes commercial wellness or culture. That the advert visualizes the mental toll of sleeplessness. Or the article challenges passive acceptance of technology in everyday life. Are all ideas. And then layer in the tone, which we talked about in our previous Thesis video. Tone is the writer's attitude. Is it amused, cynical, tense, reflective, hopeful, detached? And if you misread the tone, the whole commentary slides off in the wrong direction. So by the end of minute 3, you want a rough sentence in your head. This text presents X idea with a tone attitude. And that's the skeleton of your thesis. Then we move into minutes 3 to 6, which are the method clusters. And this works are written or visual. And this is often where students might lose control because they start hunting for as many techniques as possible. But you're not doing that. You're building 3 method clusters that actually construct the meaning and tone you just identified. So for written text, looks for narrative stance or perspective, for structural contrast or shifts, syntax that shapes tone or imagery or recurring motifs. And for visual text, use your focus approach, the framing, the organization, the color. So what's centered, what's cropped out, who has the visual power? the rule of thirds, the symmetry, the visual hierarchy. The color, is it warm versus cold, harsh versus soft? The use of text, slogans, caption, typography, and the symbolism, the objects or the imagery that carry wider conceptual weight. And remember, you don't need everything. You just need the 3 most productive clusters, the ones that say the most about how the text builds its message in relation to the guiding question. And remember, if you're finding this helpful, feel free to click like and subscribe below so you don't miss the next IB English guide. I'll see you there. And then in minutes 6 to 7, you build your thesis using T.M.E, as we saw in our previous video. Once you had the central meaning, the tone, and 3 method clusters, you're ready to build your thesis using that T.M.E structure: the tone, the method, and the effect. In one clear sentence, you're aiming to name the tone, to group the methods that matter most, and to explain the effect on the reader or the viewer. And that thesis is then going to anchor your introduction, and it will guide your choice of topic sentences. And for HL, you'll repeat this process for each text. So you'll have to be a little bit faster for the second text, but the routine will be familiar. And then for 7 to 10, minutes 7 to 10, you create your paragraph map. And this is the final part of planning that turns your analysis into an actual essay. So you take your 3 method clusters that you mentioned in your thesis statement and assign 1 cluster per paragraph. And for each future paragraph, jot down a quick note. What aspect of meaning will it focus on? Which method or cluster will it explore? And what effect you'll argue that it creates? And this lines up perfectly with the way that we built topic sentences in our topic sentence video: the meaning, the method, the effect. And 3 strong paragraphs are enough at SL. At HL, you're aiming for 3 possibly shorter but focused paragraphs per text. And the key is that each paragraph has a clear job rather than listing as many devices you can find at random. And then by the end of minute 10, you should have a clear sense of the central meaning, an accurate tone, your method clusters, a T.M.E thesis, a 3-paragraph map, and you are ready to write. So why does this actually save time? Planning in this sense feels risky because we see the clock ticking and think if we spend 10 minutes planning, we won't have time left to write. But what happens if we don't plan? We spend half the essay trying to figure out what we're actually thinking. Our thesis is perhaps not strong enough, it's not focused enough. We're repeating the idea in different wording. We're bolting on a conclusion that doesn't match the introduction. So our 10-minute planning has the potential to reduce much rewriting later on in the essay. So you're not slowing the process down here. You're actually making the writing stage much faster, almost mechanical. So let's convert that thought process. Okay, no plan. We have the idea, there's a metaphor here. There's some alliteration, there's maybe a contrast, and we can start writing about those. But that leads us into a vague or a thesis written almost on autopilot. We have paragraphs that are device-led, not idea-led, leading into description. We have a guiding question that's quickly forgotten, it's not clear, and a conclusion that feels rushed or generic. And this is how essays end up in the mid-band. There's some effort, it's just not very controlled. So if you want those higher scores, follow these ideas. With a 10-minute plan, you lock onto that meaning and that tone. You choose 3 method clusters that actually build that meaning. Your thesis links your tone, your method, and your effect. And each paragraph has a clearly defined role in the argument. And it allows you consistently link back to your guiding question. So the difference isn't just organization. It's a quality of your thought the examiner sees right from the word go. So the 10-minute plan condensed. Minute 1 to 10, read the guiding question. Underline the key focus. Minute 1 to 3, identify the central meaning and the tone. 3 to 6, choose 3 method clusters, whether it's written or visual text. 6 to 7, build a T.M.E, thesis, tone, method, effect. Minutes 7 to 10, map your 3 paragraphs, the meaning, the method, effect for each. Follow that sequence and you walk into the essay with clarity and control instead of guessing. So, planning is not optional in IB English Paper 1. It's the foundation for everything else. Your thesis, your topic sentence, your analysis, even your timing. So remember, follow the planning, follow the 10 minutes, use the 10 minutes that they give you to create those aspects. And if you want personalized support with planning your Paper 1 or to practice other exam techniques, or you'd like someone to check your practices, your plans, your thesis, or full commentaries, you can book a session with me, Dexter Haywood, or another TutorsPlus English specialist by following the link below. And if this helped, feel free to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next Paper 1 breakdown. Thank you.